Hello and welcome to the Ethanol Producer Magazine podcast. I am your host, Anna Simet. We are here at the International Fuel Ethanol Workshop in St. Louis. My guests on this podcast are Telly Papasimakis, CEO of Homeland Energy Solutions, and Chuck Gallop, Director of Innovation at ICM. And today we're going to be talking about plant expansion, operational efficiency, oil recovery, and what producers are looking for when implementing new technologies. So, Telly, let's start with you. For those who may not be familiar with Homeland, can you give us a quick overview of the plant and your role there?
Well, thank you. It's very nice to be here with you today. You nailed my name. It's a hard Greek name sometimes to pronounce. So I'm Telly Papasimakis, and I am the CEO and President of Homeland Energy Solutions. We are a fuel ethanol producer. We operate one of the largest dry milk plants in the country, and we do it all from Northeast Iowa, Lawler, Iowa, where it's a great place to grow a lot of agricultural products, corn, soybeans, and we are the beneficiaries of that.
Okay, great. That's a perfect introduction. So, Homeland recently completed an expansion project. Can you talk a little bit about what drove that project and then what the goals were for that plant?
Great question. So for us, we aim to be the best-in-class, most efficient ethanol fuel producer in the country. So a lot of our work revolves around that fact and that thought, and the expansion was part of realizing more economies of scale and efficiencies. So that's what drove the decision to expand, which we did, and we went live a year ago.
Okay. So Chuck, from ICM's perspective, when plants increase capacity, what are some of the biggest operational challenges that they typically face?
Anna, that's a wonderful question. When we think about having to expand a plant and consider all of the needs and desires of the customer, we have to keep in mind that we're going to grow a plant, but also maintain or improve energy efficiency. And so it's not real easy to make a vehicle larger and go faster and keep the same miles per gallon or improve the miles per gallon. And that's the same way with a plant design, is that you're trying to make the plant bigger, make more gallons, but improve energy efficiency along the way. So one of the things that producers want to do is take a step back and consider the holistic approach to the expansion, not just one area or the next, but how does the whole system integrate together and reuse that energy. So I would say that probably the biggest thing is taking a holistic approach to the plant expansion. How can you reuse existing infrastructure, and then what additions or add-ons should you be looking at to improve capacity and maintain or grow energy efficiency?
Okay, great answer. So Telly, one of the interesting parts of Homeland's story is that the plant increased production while also improving energy efficiency. What did that mean operationally for your team?
Our team is uniquely able to take on new challenges while focusing on how to do the block and tackle things that make us, I believe, best in class in the industry. Part of that is focusing on process improvement and process re-innovation. So part of our plan is to keep doing what we're doing, but finding ways to do it better. And one of those ways is how do we, produce the same amount of gallons, same amount of oil, same amount of feed products, but do it in a more environmentally friendly way. Mm-hmm. And part of that focus has yielded a lot of energy efficiencies in our plant.
Okay. Thanks, Telly. So Chuck, how significant is that from an industry perspective, increasing gallons while lowering BTUs per gallon?
That is probably the number one question out there right now, is how can we be 45Z compliant or take advantage of those program dollars, increase capacity, meet customer demands, but do it in such a responsible way that we don't take a step back and take on more CI burden. So when we take a look at customers like Telly and that plant there, it really takes a really talented team to pull all this together, and it starts with a vision from the plant. It starts with support from the plant, including on-site engineering. Homeland has an amazing engineering staff there, and it starts with a vision, and we can help grow that design and keep things that are really important, like oil recovery and energy, at the forefront of the design.
So Telly, before implementing new technologies, what kind of evaluation process does Homeland typically go through?
We aim to be a me too fast follower when it comes to implementing new technologies. So we need to have some data from early adopters to make sure that the outcomes are correct, or what we would expect them to be, and then we have the right fit for our plant, because every plant is different. After that, we look at scaling up. And in my 28-year experience in the ag industry, piloting and pilot data become extremely important as a precursor to deploying the capital, because it gives you a peek into what potentially is the benefit. So piloting and data is really the two ways we do that.
Okay, so I know you also completed on-site testing before moving forward. How important was that process for building confidence in your decision?
Very, very, because in the absence of just having technologies that have been accepted industry-wide, the on-site testing or piloting is really our only indication of how a technology will work. So in many ways, that data becomes a very important tool to give us the confidence to approach our board and ask for the capital.
Okay. Chuck, from your experience working with ethanol producers across the industry, what do the most successful plants usually do before implementing new technology?
A great question, and one that I think that should be emulated. And Homeland did this, is you reach out, we share a vision, we do some on-site testing to build that early confidence, but concurrent with that, it starts to introduce the staff to the new technology, right? So there's this introduction into the conversation and the vision early on. And then the next thing we really need to do is step back and take a look at the modeling, right? Pull all the data in, pull in all of the financials, and formulate a model that says, okay, here's the best way to approach this situation. And then we sit down and have a summary with the plant CEO, and if the vision is good, if the modeling looks good, we propose to move forward. If not, we take a step back and kind of reformulate and see if there's a better way that we can implement and integrate. But it all starts with that early introduction of the technology and getting the plant involved with hands-on, small-scale piloting. It really generates a tremendous amount of interest and excitement and questions early on in the project. And that's one of the big things, is making sure that the entire staff at the plant is moving together rather than being siloed or kind of broken apart, right? We want the operational staff to be part of technology selection.
Okay. Thanks, Chuck. Homeland also implemented ICM's FOT oil recovery technology. Telly, what stood out most after installation from an operational standpoint?
Well, thank you for the question. The first thing that comes to mind is the training, the operations training piece. We're in a people business, and our people's willingness to not only accept something new, but be willing to train, have the right partner to come in and help train them, and be very regimented about the way you go about preparing the organization for the change is the most important thing. And I will tell you, having been in industry now for many years, we have a best-in-class team. Our operations team and our people are the best, because we are a constant growth story. We've been able to transform 5-6 times over the last 15 years, and it takes a very special organization to be able to embrace that. So it's people in training.
Great answer. Okay, final question. Chuck, one thing ICM talks about a lot is focusing on recovery efficiency and operational consistency rather than just headline oil numbers. Can you explain why that matters?
Great question, Anna. Thank you. So, up until about 4 or 5 years ago on oil recovery, we'd always talked about oil recovery in terms of pounds per bushel, right? And back in 2007, 8, 9 time frame, when oil recovery was becoming really big, we were looking for 0.5 pound per bushel oil recovery, and that was a good recovery number. But with advancements in technology and deemulsification chemistry and operational understanding, these things that really bind up the oil and make it unrecoverable, we've improved that. Now when we're looking at best in class, you're looking at something along the lines of 1.35 to 1.4 pounds per bushel. That sounds like a really good number. But when you start to look at recovery efficiency versus a pound per bushel number, that really tells the story how well the plant is doing. You can have a plant that brings corn in that has a high fat content and be at 1.3 pounds per bushel of oil, but only be at, let's say, 60% recovery, which means 40% of the oil that they purchased is unrecovered and leaves the plant in a distiller's grain form, which is about 7 or 8 cents a pound. If it was recovered, it's worth somewhere around, let's call it 75 or 80 cents, maybe even a little bit higher than that. So in that type of situation, the plant wasn't the highest efficiency or the best producer. With FOT, we're seeing recovery efficiencies in the 75 and 80% range, and regardless how much fat comes in with the corn, we're recovering 80% of the oil. So that puts you at best of class. And that's really what we want to try to focus on, is changing the way we judge success from pounds per bushel to percent recovery.
Perfect.
Great question. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I'm at the end of my question list. Telly or Chuck, is there anything else that you want to add?
For me, as we talked about already, we're in a people business, so it's people that make the difference. Certainly technologies enable that for people to be able to do their jobs easier, but for every additional gallon of ethanol or pound of oil that we make, somebody has to buy the corn, bring it in, find ways to store it, process it. After you process it, you have to ship out the finished product, and it takes a team of people. I think what sets us apart from the rest of our competition is our people. They are the best at what they do, and we take a lot of pride in that. So thank you for the opportunity, and it's been very fun doing this.
Chuck, any final words?
Yeah, I want to take a moment and just say thank you to Telly and the whole Homeland team. It's been amazing over the last several years partnering with you. Those types of partnerships are extremely important, and it's those types of partnerships formed early on that transform the industry, right? And so sharing in the vision, sharing in the goal, and being a contributor, a part of making sure that your goals are achieved is what makes ICM successful. So thank you very much for trusting in us and letting us be part of Homeland Solutions.
And thank you for your partnership, Chuck. We consider you an extension of our team, so thank you for all that you've done and your continuous contributions to Team Homeland.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I want to thank you two for coming on the podcast and sharing your experiences and insight. And thank you so much for being here at the show.
Thank you, Anna. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And to our viewers, thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll catch you next time.